Hello and welcome to another episode of Hopelessly Casual. We are hosts as always. I'm Christian and with me as always is, say hi Freya.
Hi, I'm very excited about today's episode.
I can only imagine. Guys, fair warning, major spoiler warning ahead of all of this.
Yeah.
Plus, if you got shit planned for the rest of the week, probably rethink all of that, because today I'll let Freya run wild with one of her favourite things, because today we're talking about the announcement trailer for season 2 of the live-action remake of One Piece on Netflix. So this is a bit of a follow-up, I suppose, to our episode on trailers from last week.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's where the idea was born anyway, because the trailer, or the teaser trailer, had just dropped, I think, a day before or 2 days before we recorded the episode. So it was just a very natural follow-up of like, what if we just follow the trailer episode with a breakdown of a trailer?
And isn't this just like us, like to take not even the trailer for the initial season of the show.
No.
But, start smack in the middle, like after season 1, beginning of season 2. I only have the briefest and most casual, thank you very much, knowledge of One Piece. I watched some of the earlier episodes sporadically when I was growing up, when I was around 15 to 18, I'd reckon. So I recognize some of the faces, obviously, all of the main cast I know in terms of the characters. I don't know the actors. Mm-hmm. I recognize some of the villains, or, supporting cast, or, non-protagonists, so to speak. But in terms of what ties the action of the very obvious teaser trailer, the way it is cut together, and it's only about 1 minute and 40, and believe me, Freya's going to get a lot of content out of that, that's for sure.
I have notes this time. I never have notes.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, I'll be gone for about 10 minutes making some notes. She was back in 2, and that notepad feels full. So I came prepared. Hang on, listen to this.
Ah, yes. As ASMR.
I've got myself a beer.
That was beautiful.
That was beautiful, wasn't
perfect. It? Perfect.
I'm coming straight from night shift, from a 2-hour session of us translating.
Yes.
And now I'm just going to die listening to you nerding off on One Piece.
It's currently 10:23 in the morning. We met at 8 a.m.
Yes,
we have been working. He was on the night shift since 9 p.m. last night. 10 p.m.
10 p.m. last night.
Yeah. So, without further ado...
Right. Let me get this out of the way. I'm just going to do my disclosure of it.
Yeah, go on. So, also, just obviously the spoiler warning is there, but it's got to be a lot of spoilers because, like said, Christian has no idea of One Piece whatsoever, and since he's also not super adamant about having to watch it or wanting to watch too much of it, I will probably pretty mercilessly explain shit and put shit into perspective, and
please, reminder to you in the audience that you've already broke down a lot of the major plot points over thousands of episodes on recent or, preceding episodes.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
I know, but still. Right, so in terms of when it comes to Netflix live-action adaptations, especially of anime, we've seen the likes of Full Metal Alchemist. Mm-hmm. We've seen Cowboy Bebop, which apparently is horrendous. And something that always struck me...
Death Note as well was also horrible.
Death Note as well. And something that really struck me, strikes me whenever I watch any of the trailers or, just a bit of content of this, when it comes in terms of translating the visual styles, it very much still looks like a cartoon / anime, it has over-the-top colors, the costumes, especially when I watch the One Piece trailer now, it looks a bit cartoonish still, and I think that's very much wanted, of course.
Yeah.
And I realized when I started out the trailer, I was like, yeah, this is not my kind of visual style. Within half a minute or so, it grew on me because it seems plausible for the world in the way they're presenting it. Mm-hmm. So I was weirdly okay with it.
And I think that is sort of the secret why this has worked so far. I mean, obviously, we don't know how season 2 is going to be and how well it will be perceived and if they manage to keep the momentum going. But season 1... was the first ever that I'm aware of anime real life adaptation, at least here in the West, that worked because people will think of such atrocious films like the Avatar film. The M. Night Shyamalan attempt was atrocious. The Death Note film was horrible. Cowboy Bebop people hate.
Let's just be clear. We're fully aware of Avatar is a Western animation, of course.
Yes, of course.
And of
it's
course,
a cartoon, not an anime.
There's also a Netflix adaptation of that, a real, what would you call a live action
and that
Netflix
was
adaptation.
sort of
I haven't watched it.
Okay, but like, I mean, for the sake of an argument, I'm just gonna rope it in here with the others.
Just so I can navigate myself a bit. In terms of the first season.
Yeah.
How many episodes and what does it all basically encompass in terms of, what the anime covered on, I suppose, a lot more ground?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's condensed for the live action remake.
Sort of. I mean, yeah, it is. Of course it is. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were 8 episodes. Like very classic Netflix season length, about 50 minutes ish. So roughly an hour. So roughly 8 hours of content. And they covered the East Blue Saga. It's known in the One Piece canon. It's basically the introduction. So we get to know Luffy. We get to know his backstory. And then we meet his 4 other crew members that he has accumulated up until this point. In order, we meet Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji.
Yes.
And that's our cast of 5 that is sailing around the East Blue. All of them are from there. And we meet them either on their respective home islands, or there is a plot tied to their home.
And I suppose
only not for Zoro. Zoro is just sort of there.
I suppose there's the main antagonist. Is it the clown with the detachable limbs?
There is several antagonists because technically each mini arc within the East Blue Saga has its own antagonist. Buggy is the clown.
Yeah.
Buggy is the first antagonist in that sense that they encounter. That is a pirate. The very first villain is Captain Morgan from the Navy, where Zoro is being captured, and Luffy frees him because he just hears from someone that is like this pirate hunter guy who's super strong, and Luffy's like, oh cool, I want him in my crew, that's cool. And then they just sail there and he frees them. And
Zoro starts out as a pirate hunter, doesn't he?
Yes, he's a bounty hunter initially, but we never really see him pursue that because we meet him as he's already captured.
And what's he captured for? Sorry.
So Morgan is a pretty tyrannical captain of the Marines, and the town where they are, Shellstown, is mainly just a Navy base. So pretty much everyone living there is sort of involved with the Navy of some sort. And Morgan again runs that whole place with a pretty unyielding grasp. And he has a son, Helmeppo.
Oh,
and
yes.
Helmeppo is a completely spoiled brat. Because, my daddy is Captain Morgan, you can't do anything to me. And he one day comes into this bar where the live action deviates a little bit from how the anime tells it. But basically there's a run-in with a little girl and Helmeppo, and Zoro defends the little girl, and he gets locked up for that.
Fair enough.
Sort of. That's the gist of it. Also, I have to quickly correct myself. The very first villain they meet is Lady Alvida, which is also in the live action. It's the very first pirate that Luffy meets when he's on his own. And he meets Kobe, he's called. He's like a side character there for a little while. He's technically the first person that Luffy meets.
Is that the little kid with the glasses?
Yeah, exactly. He never joins.
I feel like I should be having a wiki open at this point. but
flowchart.
I feel like the beer and the confusion will wash over me, and I'll just accept it.
Oh, 100%. So yeah, so the order goes: Luffy meets Alvida, frees Kobe from Alvida. Kobe wants to become a Marine. That's like his dream. So they sail over to Shellstown, where Kobe wants to join the Marine. Also, coincidentally, Zoro is being kept there. They free Zoro and they defeat Morgan. They free the town from their horrible dictatorship. Kobe manages to join the Marines. There's more happening. I'm just skipping over a lot. And him and Helmeppo together then actually join the Marines and start training within them, and Zoro and Luffy sail on. That's how the anime works. In the live action, we already have Nami here.
Yes.
Which is not the case in the anime. There we meet Nami a little later, but here we have already Nami, so the first episode basically is him meeting already Nami and Zoro, and then them sailing on. And then there is Buggy. Like said, Buggy is sort of a bit more. It's really funny so Buggy is really not a special character technically. In the manga and in the anime, he is the first bigger villain, where in terms of like how the manga books are structured and how the chapters work, it's the first one that we don't defeat within like one bound book of chapters, but it takes like we meet him in volume 2 and we defeat him in volume 3 sort of. And also Buggy is tied to Shanks, who is Luffy's mentor figure, who inspired his love for pirates, sort of, because Shanks is a pirate and he has been anchored for 1 year in like the little town where Luffy grew up, and he also gave him the straw hat. So like the promise is, because Luffy can't stay with them even though he really wants to, that Shanks give him a straw hat and Luffy needs to take care of it, and when they meet again as great pirates, then he's gonna return the straw hat.
I feel like I remember that Shanks at some point saves Luffy's life, losing an arm in the process.
Exactly, that's the very beginning.
And basically just defeating, I think it's in the open ocean, there's this monster coming for Luffy, and he just basically loses his arm, but then basically makes the thing run away by just staring at him.
Precisely. That is exactly what happens.
Boss move.
And in the manga, that is how the whole story begins. So it's not a flashback, but we start with little boy Luffy, and then we saw that transpire, and then we skip ahead till he's old enough to sail on. In the live action, we see this sequence, like his past and his relationship with Shanks over a sequence of flashbacks over the first couple episodes, which I think works fine. That's all right. I think pacing wise, that is the better move. You have to condense some things,
absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, Buggy knows Shanks. That's why he's sort of significant initially and rememberable at first in the manga and anime. But Buggy is the first bit harder fight, but also in the end also easily taken care of. And then he returns a couple of times, and it has now become an in-joke within the community. Now that we're at episode 1000-something, I forget. Buggy is very incapable. He's a very moronic, incapable, weak person.
Doesn't he eventually lose like his main body, but his limbs are basically attached to his head?
Yeah, his devil fruit is the chop fruit, so he can just split his body parts like he wants. So basically he's immune to like blades and shit, because he can't be cut, because he can just plop his body open. And they defeat him by him. He dispersed all of his body parts flying about, so he's attacking everyone from every side with like his hands and feet and just like parts of his arms and legs and everything, and he can't be hit, he can't be got. But Nami's there, and Nami is a master thief, so she just nicks all the parts, ties them together, and they lock him up in the chest. And then it's just his head, his feet, and his hands, and he's like little tiny chibi Buggy, and then Luffy just gum bazookas him out of there. Very much Team Rocket-esque Pokemon style.
Yeah, and he's recurring later. But so...
And that is new. That he's recurring later is different from the manga and anime.
Oh.
Because in the manga and anime, he also recurs later, but at different points. And the joke in the anime and manga is that he will probably become the Pirate King for a little bit. Because he also has the aspiration to become it. He doesn't have the skill, but somehow he's just getting by make-believe. He gathers strong people around him, or at least enough people around him that act as a human shield, so that he can pretend like he is like this big leader figure, even though he really can't do anything. And he gets involved with super, super strong people that basically hold him hostage, but use his face as a distraction, as a propaganda means to lure in more people and gather an army. And he has, in this way, acquired the status of Emperor of the Sea, which is like the highest basic like title a pirate can get in this world other than Pirate King. And it's just a joke at this point. And everyone's pretty sure that Buggy will be Pirate King for like a second, by whatever means. Maybe he holds the One Piece, whatever the One Piece is, for like a brief second before someone drops him on the head and he drops it, or something like that. But there's going to be the joke that out of all people, Buggy is going to make it first. I'm so sure about it, because Buggy is Oda's, the author's, Eiichiro Oda, is his favorite character.
Oh, wow.
And that's really, really funny. And I'm fairly sure that the reason why they have blown him up so much in the first season of the live action is probably because Oda saw an opportunity to put a little bit more emphasis on Buggy as a character, because honestly, I think he's cast brilliantly in the show, and he is so much cooler and so much more menacing, and they really managed to polish him to an interesting character without losing his wit. Buggy is low-key my favorite character from the first season of the live action. It's really, really cool.
Okay, and if I may, just to interject. So at this point, we've got, contrary to the manga and the anime, we've got Nami, we got Zoro.
Yeah.
Followed by
Usopp.
Usopp, yeah.
Which is pretty standard as how the anime works as well. They end up in his village, in Syrup Village, because they need a ship. Basically, they want to get to the Grand Line, which is this huge ocean, and Luffy needs to get there because the One Piece is there. Zoro is following him, obviously, and Nami just wants treasure and big bucks, and that's easier to get over there. And they have the map to the Grand Line. They nicked that from Buggy, and now they need a ship that can sail up there, and that's what they're gonna that they hope to find at Syrup Village, because it's a village, there's infrastructure there, there's docks, there's ships there. And they meet Usopp there and encounter another foe by the name of, oh my god, what is his name in English? Kuro. Captain Kuro. Yes, because his name in the German version is Captain Black, which I believe is what Kuro means. And he works undercover as a butler in a huge mansion. And there in German his name is Boriga. But I think in the English and Japanese version it's different, so we just stick with Kuro. And Usopp is in love with the girl who lives at the mansion, who Kuro caters to. And she is like the super, super wealthy girl that lives there, who inherited all the fortune from her parents. And she's been in a sickly way ever since her parents died. And Kuro wants to kill her. But before that, he wants to hypnotize her to put him in her will. And then wants to kill her, like with his pirate crew, who is coming back because the stealth mission is over and is gonna raid the village at night, kill Kaya, and then they're all gonna leave again, and he can live the rest of his life as the butler who inherited the fortune from his poor lady, and can just live chill and not be pursued by the Navy, and drop his name and just live out his life there. That's his
solid plan. No notes.
Right? Perfect. He's called the genius. Allegedly, he's one of the smartest people. Bullshit. But obviously, they foul the plan. It's really cool. Like the live action Netflix does like a whole gothic horror element with this episode.
Okay.
Which is really fun. I think they do it really, really well. It really fits the style of the arc. And Usopp is sort of like a play on Pinocchio, obviously, for one, because in the anime he has this ridiculously long nose, right?
And he's a liar, isn't he?
And he is a liar. That's the thing. So he is the boy who cried wolf. Every day he runs through the village and yells, "The pirates are coming! The pirates are coming! The pirates are here!" to alert everyone. And everyone is so used to it that some people use that as an alarm clock. So it's incorporated in people's daily routine that Usopp is running through the village. And like literally in the manga, there's like panels where people are like reading the papers and they're like, "Oh, Usopp's there, time for work!" Like because it's on the dot. Like, and of course then people don't believe him when it's actually happening.
But so why would he do it in the first place?
Because he's the son of a pirate. We learned that later. His mom died of a fever when he was younger, and his dad had left before. Because his dad is a pirate by the name of Yasopp.
Yes.
Who is part of Shanks' crew. Which we learn, and which is how Luffy and Usopp then initially bond. Because Luffy knows Yasopp. Because he was there. Because he's part of Shanks' crew. And Usopp always wanted to also become a pirate and sail out to the seas and be like his dad. Because he isn't resentful that his father left. He is sort of like idolizing him.
Oh, fair enough.
And so he kept always yelling that the pirates are coming when his mum was sick. When he was a little boy, trying to get her to lighten up, and like hoping that the idea of her husband coming home,
killing her in the process, whenever the bloody disappointment sets in. He did not think this through, did he?
He was like 8.
Doesn't matter.
But then he
kept
doing it. See, he like when she died, he just kept the ritual up basically, and does it out of nostalgia.
And then this is why children are horrible, because they turn into horrible adults.
Yep, and so obviously when the actual raid happens, no one believes him, and everyone's super pissed at him because they're like, okay, right, we get it. Why are you doing it, mate? Come on, it's like, why, huh? And he's like, no, this time actually, yeah, you always say that, don't annoy us. And then the whole village is like super pissed at him, and then he just wants to take the black pirates on by himself, or the cat pirates, I think they're called. And obviously Luffy and Zoro and Nami are there, sort of roped into this whole thing because they just meet people and sort of scooch along this whole thing, meet Usopp, meet Kaya, meet Captain Black and everything, and then in the end, of course, they help. And Luffy,
Captain Kuro.
Yeah, Captain Kuro. Yeah. Yes, and of course, Luffy then defeats Captain Kuro in the end, and then Usopp joins the crew. Kaya gifts them their ship, the Going Merry, which is a ship with a lamb's head as a galleon's figure.
Yeah.
The iconic ship that everyone knows, basically. And then they leave Syrup Village.
So, and the next one they pick up is Sanji, isn't it?
Yes, and they just sail up, and Sanji works as a cook at this swimming restaurant.
I think I remember that from the
anime.
Yeah,
it's the Baratier, this huge ship that just functions as a restaurant. And the cool thing is they actually built that for the live. Yes, so they shoot the live action down in South Africa.
Oh wow!
And all the ships they have built, like all the cool iconic pirate ships, like Arvida's ship, the Going Merry, the iconic marine warships and everything. They've built those, and they've also built the Baratier, like just the swimming platform. Like I'm not sure if they built the entire set like in one, but they built like parts of the set actually on water.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
Really, really cool. Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, the budget that they had for this was really, 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 really high. I don't want to say anything wrong now, but I seem to remember that it was something akin to, they had like for the season something like what HBO had for the one of the episodes of the last season of Game of Thrones or something.
Tell you what, I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah,
and you just continue the summary.
Yeah, so they meet Sanji, and so in the anime, what happens is they sail up to the Baratier and they get chased by the Navy. Because, they have a ship now and they have like pirate flag hissed, and even though nobody knows them, it's a pirate ship, so might as well, right? And they shoot a cannon at them, and Luffy inflates himself like a balloon, he calls it, where he just turns himself into a huge cushion, and deflects the cannonball, which then ricochets off of him into the Baratier. And then they go up there, and Luffy, being the good stand-up naive guy that he is, goes straight up to the boss and is like, "I'm so sorry, that was me, my bad." And then Zeph, the head chef of the Baratier, goes like, "Well, you gotta pay for that." And Luffy's like, "Well, I have no money." And then Zeph is like, "Cool, you're gonna work for it then." And then he keeps him there as like a kitchen runner boy. Who's supposed to just work there till they've basically paid off the damage done. And in the live action, that doesn't happen. They don't end up there being chased. They find it like in a pretty normal way. I think Nami knows it and leads them there or something, because Nami is the only one who has some form of bearing on the seas because she's a navigator. And then they end up there and they just order a shit ton of food. Mm-hmm. And they just eat it all. And then they don't have any money to pay for it, because Luffy never thought about the fact that he may have to pay for services. And so then they meet Sanji, because Sanji appears to be just a waiter there. But very quickly it becomes evident that Sanji is actually the sous chef and is just as brilliant a chef as Zeph is, but that also him and Zeph has a very complicated relationship. Definitely a mentor-protege relationship, but with a lot of territorial issues going on, because it's very, very evident that Sanji technically has outgrown the phase where he could live there under Zeph, and he needs to sort of spread his wings and become his own man, but he is not doing that because he feels super grateful to Zeph, because Zeph rescued him when he was a little boy. Zeph used to be a pirate, captain of the Red Leg or Red Feet pirates. His name used to be Redfoot Zeph, sorry, and he attacked the ship that Sanji was sailing on as a kitchen boy when he was like 7 or 8. And they're fighting and everything, and then both ships get caught up in a huge storm, and both ships sink. And Zeph dives down and rescues Sanji from the depths, and they end up on this solitary rock with 2 burlap sacks of provisions, a huge one and a small one. And Zeph tosses Sanji the small one, and it's like, go over there on that side of the rock and look for ships. I stay here with this burlap sack and I look for ships here. And then Sanji's all like, that's not fair. You have so much more food than I am. And then Zeph's like, well, I'm also taller than you. Shut up, go over there. And then they end up on the rock for weeks. Like for a ridiculous amount of time. In the manga, I think it's in total 71 or 72 days or something. And after a while, of course, the provisions are used up no matter how well you ration them. And Sanji then... when he doesn't have any more food left, he then already like emaciated and it's really rough in the manga. Like they really show like he's really like completely like fallen in face and like really like a skeleton basically already draped in skin. He crawls over to the other side of the rock and sees Zeph sit there, and there's this huge sack next to him still untouched. So Sanji, as like this little 8-year-old boy, draws a knife on the scary pirate captain and threatens him, and it's like, I'm gonna take your provisions, I don't care. And Zeph doesn't even react, so he just slices the sack open, and out falls a lot of gold and a lot of treasure. And
so he's giving him the only provisions.
Yeah. And then Sanji is like, how did you survive this long? There's nothing to eat here. What did you do? Walks around to him, sees Zeph is missing a leg. So Zeph gave Sanji all the food and took a really sharp rock and cut off his own leg and ate his own leg in order to survive.
That's a bloody dedication right there.
Yeah, it's also something that is censored in the anime, because...
And he could have eaten a perfectly good kid.
He could have eaten a perfectly good kid.
You know what I mean?
But if he would have gotten him soon enough, then they're also not emaciated yet, just like really, you know. But so that's the story in the manga and also in the live action. It's just not as...
graphic, I suppose.
Graphically depicted. In the anime, when it came out, because they were thinking of like the target audience being way younger than the manga at the point, they told the story differently, and they said that Zeph's leg got caught in like some of the ropes and the anchor chain of one of the ships while they were sinking. And then he basically that ripped it off as he was saving Sanji. And then he just survives without food for 70 whatever days out of sheer will, I guess.
God damn.
Yeah, and that's also why Sanji is not leaving. Because he feels so indebted to Zeph that he can't...
The man literally ate his own leg.
Yeah, so Sanji's like, I kind of gotta stay here, man.
Yeah, I mean, like seriously.
And I mean, he also has his own ambitions. He's a very passionate cook. He's just as good a cook as Zeph is, if not better. And his dream is to find the All Blue, which is allegedly an ocean where all the fish in the world from all the other oceans that exist are found. Because how the world of One Piece is structured, I may have talked about this before, is that you have 4 oceans, the East Blue, West Blue, North Blue, South Blue, and they are separated horizontally, by the Grand Line, which is the huge ocean spanning the world like the equator, basically horizontally. And the Grand Line is encased in 2 stripes of water called the Calm Belt, where there's always no wind. You can't sail through it. There's never any wind. And it's riddled with sea monsters. So you can't just drop onto the Grand Line wherever you want. You have to go through the entrance. And then you also can't just leave it whenever you want. You have to leave through the exit, which is where the entrance is. You have to, once you get on the Grand Line, sail around the world. Otherwise, you can't get off of it unless you have like some tricks like the Navy does. And then vertically, so from north to south, basically, the world is spanned by the only big continent that exists on the entire Earth. Otherwise, it's just islands. So
it's like a Pangea situation with islands scattered all over the place.
Exactly. And the red line is the only continent that exists, and it spans the whole world as one huge slab of rock as well, like super huge. And that separates the 4 blues. The Grand Line and the Red Line do. And then you basically have like the world split up in squares, North Blue, West Blue, East Blue, South Blue. And we're on the East Blue.
And there's this fabled all blue
where
all
allegedly all the sea creatures from all the blues can be found at one.
So
and Sanji wants to find that.
Yeah, obviously to have the perfect seafood restaurant just for an arsehole like me to come in there and go like, I basically don't care for seafood. Thank you
just
so
like,
much.
can I just have some fish fingers?
Yeah, like yeah. Oh my god, can you imagine? I love
like
me
deep
some
fried. I don't care.
It's like, mate, unless this is fish and chips, you know. I know this is sautéed really nice and looks amazing. Has the head still on there. I really don't care for it.
No, it's like, can you give me either like deep fried like tempura?
You can leave the protein off it. I'll take the sides.
I'll take the batter. Can I have the batter?
Oh yeah, can I just have a big plate of batter? You look angry. Did I make you angry? I didn't intend to, but you know, I don't care for
Customer's king, no?
Yeah, exactly. And I know what I was what I was getting myself into when I got here, but I feel like I feel like you should cater to my needs, even though I know what kind of restaurant this is.
Yeah.
Because fuck you, that's why.
Basically. So that's why Sanji doesn't leave, but even though he really wants to. And then there's a huge deviation from how the manga proceeds in comparison to the live action, because technically there we also have a foe by the name of Don Creek, who is allegedly one of the strongest pirates from the East Blue, with a huge armada of associated ships. And Creek had just recently sailed onto the Grand Line, got beaten, got absolutely torn apart, and came running back with, however he did that, that's never explored, probably by sacrificing a whole lot of his armada by just having the sea monsters chase some of the ships, hoping his flagship will get out. That's the only way I can imagine. And with his tail tucked between his legs, he comes running back. And when the Straw Hats are at the Baratier already, there's this really, really, really hungry pirate coming in by the name of Gin, or Gin, you have to Gin, but spelled like Gin, but pronounced Gin, who's basically starved. He's basically starved to death, and he stumbles in, can't hold himself upright, just falls. And all of the cooks, because the Baratier defends itself, so all of the crew are the cooks, but also seasoned fighters, because, you know, pirates drop in left, right, and center. So Gin falls over and lies there, and everyone's like, I recognize him. He is like the second in command from the Don Creek pirates. Fuck him off right now. We don't need that business here. Absolutely not. We do not care. And Sanji is like, fuck you guys, that's a hungry man, I'll give him food. And then he makes him food, and Gin is like, oh my god, thank you, you saved my life, and he's a really stand-up guy. And he's like, don't worry, Don Creek would never, ever, ever harm you if you saved him. I'll bring them back, but I promise you, I vouch on my life, everything will be fine, everything is okay. He's not that honorless that he would do. Yeah, of course he is. So
I feel like this is a promise you really can't keep.
Yeah, and Gin is genuinely shocked by that. He genuinely didn't believe Don Creek would act like this, because Don Creek's idea, once he's regained his strength, which happens after the first plate of food, and he's immediately like, I'm all good. It's like, oh, this is a really nice big ship, the Baratier. I lost basically all of mine. We'll take this as a new flagship, and then we're gonna try again. And everyone's like, no, you're not.
The fuck you are.
And he's like, yeah, I am. And then Luffy fights Don Creek. And it's a pretty brutal battle. Like, that is the most violent that we've seen so far. Like, I'm talking metal spikes embedded in Luffy's fist up to here. Like, up to half of your knuckles and further. Like, half your hand basically being, like, completely riddled with spikes easily 3-4 centimeters in diameter. Like, it's a brutal fight, because Don Creek has now devil fruit powers, but he's just using dirty tricks and weapons. And Luffy has a really tough time. He's completely cut from the live action.
Fair enough. But if you think about it, and this is really what bugs me, you know, like in terms of this main character syndrome.
Yeah.
You go somewhere and you get fucked up
immediately.
You know, like, and the thing is, of course, in terms of, you know, like tensions and whatnot. Of course, those people become increasingly powerful.
Yeah.
You just don't go somewhere. Sometimes you do it for comedic effect, and there's just a nobody comes in, or, you know, an old foe which you just annihilate within seconds.
Yeah,
you know, like,
but the
to
power
show that you've grown. But, you know, like, it's like you sit down somewhere, and after the third or fourth guy, you're a bit like, oh my god, I wish I can just have my meal in peace right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm here to fuck me sideways, and you know, it's just like, you're constantly on edge, aren't you?
Luffy really isn't the character that would be bothered by that. He is way too living in the moment type person. So he's right, whatever happens, happens. Cool, let's do that. And then in the manga, they then defeat Don Krieg. Before that happens, before the fight with Don Krieg kicks off, the man who annihilated his armada and defeated him so badly on the Grand Line actually shows up, which turns out to be Mihawk du Lacre, or Mihawk, what's his name in English? Falcon Eyes? Should be. Greatest swordsman in the world. The one that Zoro needs to defeat in order to claim his ambition.
Oh, lucky.
Which is to become the greatest swordsman in the world. Only we are only about halfway through the prologue of the show that runs to this day. So his odds of defeating his climactic foe are not great.
Here's a hot tip, though. Take the fucking sword out of your fucking mouth. Because this 3-sword technique is a bit like... I feel this is counterintuitive.
Sort of. I mean, he has trained that, though. There's training montages of him where he lifts shit with his teeth.
I do realize
his jaw
that,
is strong.
And it's still an anime or a manga or whatever.
I know, but it's
just like, let me take this sword and put it in my fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Because, more swords is more swords.
Yes. And Mihawk obviously annihilates him. And he doesn't take him seriously initially at all, because Mihawk always gets challenges left, right, and center. As the greatest swordsman, he has to continuously defend his title, and most of the people challenging him aren't worth his time. And he thinks Zoro's the same, but then he's pretty impressed by Zoro's determination and power of will. And then when Zoro realizes that he has lost, because Mihawk destroys 2 of his swords, the ones that he holds left and right weren't really important. The one that he has in his mouth has sentimental value, because his childhood friend died, and they had promised each other that one of them would become the greatest swordsman. And then Kuina died. It's sort of implied that she may have killed herself because she was a girl and she wanted to become the greatest swordsman and keep fighting and everything. And her dad was like, "You won't be able to do this forever. Just biologically speaking, man will surpass you, and you're going to become a woman and all this stuff. Just saying." And then it says she fell down the stairs, and I'm fairly sure that at least I seem to remember to have heard it before, that falling down the stairs in Southeast Asian / Japanese society is a synonym for killing yourself.
Okay, I'm not going to lay into that because...
No, I'm not. This is the dangerous half knowledge that I have read
precisely,
somewhere.
Plus, falling down the stairs, especially when it comes to women, is already culturally...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But that's how
on.
Kuina dies, and Zoro then inherits her sword, the Waruichi Monji, which is the one that he has always in his mouth, and that's also the only sword that he's been carrying with him since the beginning of the show. And that doesn't break, but the other 2 break, and then he's like, okay, I lost, cool, and then he turns around to Mihawk, and he just stretches out his arms and presents himself full frontal to Mihawk, who has this ridiculously huge ass sword that looks like a cross and everything. And then Mihawk is like, "What are you doing?" And then Zoro just goes like, "Scars on the back, or wounds on the back of a swordsman are a disgrace." And Mihawk really likes that, and really likes the determination and the sense of honor and everything. And he's like, "Cool, well spoken." And then just slashes him from left shoulder down to right hip, right across the chest, but not deadly. He doesn't deal a fatal blow, just a really nasty wound, and that scar Zoro carries with him forever, ever since. And Luffy holds himself back the entire time not to intervene, because he knows Zoro has to do this on his own, but then when Zoro loses, Luffy loses it a little bit, and he's like, ah. And then Zoro swears to him that he will never lose again.
Okay. But in terms of recap,
yeah,
where are we?
We are now...
To get to the actual trailer.
We have Sanji. And then the last thing that happens is sort of that what brings it all back together, Nami's backstory. Because Nami was with us from Shellstown on, from Morgan on. And now that we're at the Barati, something changes. And she's being weird, and then she just takes off. She just takes the ship and sails off, and is like, "Remember, lads, I'm a thief. Was nice knowing you, but sorry, gotta go. Bye." And Luffy's like, "That's not on, something's weird." We follow her. I want Nami as my navigator, no one else. I don't care. And then they follow her, and they find out that Nami's village is being held hostage by a fishman. because that's just a breed in the world, fishmen, that are half man, half sea creature. It's in the name. Ridiculously strong. Like the average fish man is about 10 times stronger than your average human. And they can breathe underwater and on land. They have lungs and gills. They're super fast. They can swim literally like at the pace of a fish in water. And they're just like naturally pretty much superior to humans. And one of them, Arlong, is a pirate who one day showed up at Nami's village when she was a kid, or like the whole island complex, the archipelago where she lives, and he was just like, okay, all of this is mine now. You all get to live if you pay me monthly this and this amount for an adult and this amount for a kid. If you can't pay, we murk you. And she has a very heartbreaking backstory. Her stepmother gets killed by them because she sacrifices herself for Nami and her stepsister. And then Nami joins Arlong actually at the age of like 8 and joins the crew of the murder of her mom. And everyone hates her and is like, how could she do that? The witch, what the hell? And then we learn later that she struck a deal with Arlong where she's like, if I bring you 100 million berries, the currency in One Piece, will you let my village go? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, you're gonna draw sea maps for me, cool? Because she's a cartographer and a very, very skilled one at that. And since then, for the past 10 or 9 years or something, she's been sailing about, collecting money, collecting the treasure that she needs in order to pay off Arlong. And now, with the money that she has from the Straw Hats and from the adventures, she has enough. And she wants to pay him off, but of course, he cheats her, and the navy around that area is corrupt, and he has dealings with the corrupt navy, so he tips them off. The navy takes her treasure, wants to lock her up for being a pirate, and she has to collect new money for Arlong technically because he's not gonna give her up. She's too valuable an asset with her sea maps and everything. So the Straw Hats don't buy her pushing away act. They don't buy, or at least Luffy doesn't buy the whole thing of like, I don't want you, I don't care about you, you're shit, I hate pirates, da, 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 da. So they show up and they just very relentlessly keep helping her until she finally gives in and she's like, help us, please. And then they all together defeat the Arlong pirates. And then we sail on.
Excellent.
The one thing that the live action does differently in that regard still from the anime, which I think may not play a role in this season, but maybe in the third season, is that Kobe and Helmeppo keep showing up throughout the live action in sequences because they get picked up by the Vice Admiral Garp of the Navy. Vice Admiral is incredibly high rank in the Navy, and he becomes their mentor, and he's training them. And that is canon. That does happen. But we don't necessarily see it as part of the main story throughout this time, but we see it as little images on the cover page of each chapter. So Oda usually, when there's a new chapter, uses the front page to tell a cover story, it's called, where we follow side characters that are not involved in the main story anymore, and we just like get flashes of what they are doing, and we get like told arcs through the cover pages of 10, 20 chapters before we then meet a new one. And Kobe's and Helmeppo's training montage under Garp is being told through these cover pages. But they do not interact with the Straw Hats again until, let me quickly do the maths. And when we speak in terms of volumes, like collected chapters bound together, then Kobe and Helmeppo leave them in volume 1, and they meet them again in volume 45.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I gather, from the end of the trailer to season 2, season 3 is already confirmed and is going
thank
to
God.
drop.
They have to, though. I'll get into that, because what the story that they're telling now, I was very curious how they would continue the pacing of the live action. Maybe we can continue on to that, because everything that I've talked about now is basically the East Blue arc. and they cover that in one season. That makes a lot of sense. The cutoff point that they chose also makes sense because the first episode that we're gonna see of season 2 is still gonna be in the East Blue, but it's probably gonna be only one episode, maybe 1.5, because they have one more stop to go to before they enter the Grand Line, and season 2 is called Into the Grand Line. And so they really covered one arc, is in the East Blue arc, consisted of all these small arcs I talked about, in one season. The next arc that now follows is the Alabaster arc. And that is also comprised in a lot of small arcs, but it is way more overlapping. Like, the story that is being told now is the first, like, huge one. That is, for me included, I think, the best one ever told in One Piece in terms of character building, pacing, and story outline and climax. But it takes forever. Like, if you consider the Alabaster arc starting with them entering the Grand Line, and there's an argument for and against that, but I'm just gonna assume that means we start in volume 12 and we finish it in volume 25. And I knew from the get-go that it wouldn't be able to be comprised into one season. No way in hell. But I was very curious to see, and I'm still very curious to see where they put the cutoff point. Because what we are entering now is basically a sort of usurpation mafia arc, overall speaking, of a certain kingdom, the Kingdom of Alabaster, on the Grand Line. And we meet the princess, now there's major spoilers from now on, we meet the princess of said kingdom pretty early on, under a different name first, but we later learn that that is the princess of that country, and she sails with the Straw Hats the entire time, because the Straw Hats meet her, and they're like, okay, cool, we're gonna help you. And what they are trying to do is get to Alabaster and prevent a civil war from happening that is being orchestrated by the big bad in the background. And that's the goal. And that takes forever, because getting to Alabaster already includes 3 different islands that we stop on first, that we have mini arcs on, that we also meet characters on that become more important. And then we get to Alabaster, and that is a huge, huge, huge island with several cities on them. It's a desert island where they have to cross the desert, and they get to 3 different locations, 3 different cities where things happen. We have 3 times interactions between Luffy and the main villain, Crocodile, before he defeats him. So, huge, huge, intricate story. And I was very curious to see, or I'm very curious to see, where they put the cutoff point between season 2 and season 3, because story-wise, it'll tell Alabaster. But I'm guessing we're gonna do the prelude to it now. So that would be the islands of Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, and Drum. And then probably we end when we are about to reach Alabaster, is my guess. Maybe we see a shot of it emerging from on the horizon as they sail towards it, or somebody's gonna be like land ho or something, and then we probably cut, and then we're gonna have season 3 be Alabaster.
Would make sense from what you've been telling. So, what can you actually read from, like the actual trailer that we've got, that I've watched as well? So,
pretty much that.
Just a second.
Nice.
That's beer number 2.
This is sort of like the chapters.
I only have this one, so please.
So, what the trailer gives away most is, of course, what most fans are really, really excited about, which is the characters and the locations. Because I mean, this show is still very much, I think, catering to people like me, who know the source material and know it well, and are really excited for it being adapted in a different form of medium.
Fair enough.
So the very first thing that we hear and see, we see the red line. The first thing, or at least implied, the red line. We see it later, but we start at the red line, and we hear like this howling, this beast-esque howling, which you can't really place what it is. Well, I know what it is. It is a huge whale. a huge whale. I think
Naturally.
humpback whale. Well, obviously not really, but like sperm whale. I forget what. Huge whale.
Let's go with huge whale. I think that narrows it down.
By the name of Laboom.
Laboom.
Or Laboon, I think, in Japanese, and Laboom in German. Like, just mumble, and then it's M or N, depending on who you ask. Laboom is he counts as a character. He counts as a sentient character. He is the first entity that the crew encounters when entering the Grand Line. Because entering the Grand Line isn't easy. So you need to go over a mountain
with a boat
with your ship. So it's called Rivers Mountain. But
this is very Fitzcarraldo.
Yeah.
Is the mountain? Well, it doesn't make sense. There is no water on that mountain, right?
Yes, so there is.
There is. And it's flowing up the mountain.
Yes, it is.
Of course, it is.
So it's called Rivers Mountain or Reverse Mountain, depending on how you spell it, on how you pronounce it. One Piece does this a lot, like puns in the names. It does that a lot, which is where theories stem from what the One Piece actually is, because why the hell would you name a treasure One Piece? Rivers Mountain is basically directly in the middle of where all the blues meet from different angles. It's where the corners meet. And it has ravines flowing up from all of the blues, meeting at the top, and then flowing in one huge river down the other side into the Grand Line. So you don't see the Grand Line or what it is when you enter it. You're just in front of this huge mountain, and then you get caught up in the current if you want to or not, and then bye. And on the other end, down at the right of the beginning, where you then crash down into to get into the Grand Line, suddenly a huge wall appears, and you're like, why is there a cliff? It's not a cliff. It's a whale.
Oh shit.
It's a whale that, like, if you take how huge a mosasaurus is depicted in Jurassic World times 10. Laboon is huge, and he's just blocking the path. And he's crying. That's the sound that we hear.
But why?
He is crying for his friends that left him there. So he was a baby whale, and he was following this pirate ship, the Roomba Pirates. And then they came from the, don't let me lie, West Blue. And then they entered the Grand Line, and they were like, it's way too dangerous for a little whale to follow us here. Chill here, stay here, and we'll come pick you up when we're done. That was 50 years ago.
And by this point, Laboon, whatever, is grown.
And is just crying at the mountain every day for his friends.
And still waiting. Of, like, I don't know, getting a college degree or something.
Yeah. And he's self-harming every day because his whole head is riddled in scars because he keeps ramming the red line in wanting to get to his friends.
Oh, he can't pass that thingy. Well, that's tragic.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like, Laboon is really, really sad. There's a different character down there by the name of Crocus, who I'm guessing we have to meet because Crocus is super important for exposition. He sort of is like the little guidance figure that tells him, basically, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. That is Crocus's role, because the Grand Line is pretty fucked in terms of physical, like, laws of physics and natural laws. You can't navigate the Grand Line with a compass because all the islands have a lot of iron in them and are magnetic. So a compass just spins around the entire time, doesn't know where to orient itself. So you need a special compass for the Grand Line called a lockport, which locks onto the different magnetic fields between the magnetic currents between the islands. And then you can't just sail from island to island because the lockport sort of follows each magnetic current from island to island. So how the Grand Line is built is, at the beginning, lots of islands everywhere sprinkled about. You need to choose one route, one path, and then that one dictates how you sail. And you will miss out on other islands because you can't just decide where you're going, but like one path, one route, you have to stick it with it. And then the further you go, the less islands there are. And then there is the last island on the Grand Line where allegedly only Gold Roger, the Pirate King, and his crew made it to. It's for some reason in German it used to be translated as unicorn. Don't ask me why. Its name is Raftel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the One Piece allegedly is. And so they get there and they don't know about any of this. They don't know about a lockport. They don't know about the currents and everything. So Crocus is there and is like, okay, lads, you know nothing. You will die. Let me give you a lockport. Let me roughly brief you. And then you can sail on. So all of that is just evident from the howl.
God damn. Is it too late to walk out of this? Guys, I'll rejoin you, let's say, in about 8 hours' time, because, I need a good night's sleep, and you don't know what you're in for.
The next shot that we see really, really briefly is of a town square. With a fountain and a theater.
And isn't that also the place where Gold Roger was executed?
Exactly. We've seen this before in the opening of the first episode of the season. That's Loketown.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hate this. The pronunciation of the names. It is translated in the Western versions, in German and in English, as Loketown. I'm sure the appropriate translation would be Roketown.
Oh, this is like, what was it? Like in some translations, it's not Luffy, it's Ruffy.
Mm-hmm. Including the German one.
Exactly.
It's Ruffy in the German one, but yeah, because his name is Ruffy.
Yeah.
So, and it's Roketown. So, Loketown. It's called Loketown in the English and German version. I hate that because, guys, it doesn't take an English degree to realize that the city where the entire legend begins, where the age of piracy is born, is probably supposed to be called Roketown.
Well, it's borderline racist too, just to go with the whole bloody, well, let's go with the L.
Naja, but it's still Oda himself, the author and the creator of One Piece, is heavily involved in this season as well. He was heavily involved in the first one. Every change that they made, everything was signed off by him. They had to do reshoots. He was really adamant about his baby, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And he still was with this season, so it's fine. But yeah, we only can guess that that's Loketown because we see it on the writing of the opera that's depicted there. Because Loketown is going to be the biggest city that we will have seen up to this point, which is a city. Everything else was just villages up until this point. Shell's town was a town, like sort of in between, but Loketown is a real city. Huge. And so the Straw Hats have all of their little exploratory arcs there themselves. They split up and do their own thing. Zoro needs to buy new swords. Sanji is going provision shopping so that they have like groceries and stuff. The anime has a lot of filler episodes there where they give like one of the Straw Hats an episode each in the town where they explore stuff. The manga doesn't necessarily do that, but we very clearly see Zoro's arc there. Because, again, he needs some swords. He has only one. Because Mihawk destroyed his other two. And when they fought Arlong and stuff, he, nicked swords. But that's not his. And, a swordsman needs special swords.
Obviously.
A swordsman needs proper swords. So he ends up in this weapons shop. And there's, a crook running it who thinks he can just, rip him off with, cheap stuff. Because Zoro also has no idea what he's talking about. He's a super skilled swordsman, but he's an idiot. And he doesn't really know what good or bad swords are. And that, by name or something. Or he doesn't know that there's different classes for swords and everything. And then the shopkeep sees his Wado Ichimonji that he had inherited from Kuina. And he's like, oh, that's a real special sword. What the hell? And then he's like, can I buy that? He's like, absolutely fucking not. Emotional value and all that. And then he's sort of like, okay, fine, then grab just two swords from the two barrels over there. What you brought me money-wise barely covers enough. You just get some cheap shit and get out. So Zoro rummages through there and pulls out one. He's like, this is cool. I want this. And then the shopkeeper's like, absolutely not. That one is cursed. It'll kill the owner. Always does. The Kitetsu of the third generation is a very bloodthirsty sword.
Okay, I'm just going to ask, why would you have that fucking thing in the bargain bin?
To get rid of it?
Yeah, but apparently not.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's like, yeah, mate, take it.
It is sort of implied that his wife, the shopkeeper's wife, wants to get rid of it, and he is reluctant to sentence someone to death, and she is in the background just like, finally get rid of that bloody thing!
Yeah, but this is perfect. You know, Zoro goes out, gets himself killed, he gets the Waruichi whatever one.
Yeah, but the shopkeeper, has a little bit of morals. So he's like, okay, fine, then not. But Zoro goes like, no, I want this. And he's like, no, it's gonna kill you. He's like, we'll see about that. Throws the sword in the air, spinning.
Holds out
his arm, and the sword, like, perfectly flies around him and doesn't even nick him.
Here's the thing. What I can deduce from just, because I know that scene. I remember that scene. I watched it without context. Let's just make it abundantly clear at this point. Zoro's a fucking idiot. Yeah. He wants to be a sword master. He wants to be the greatest swordsman of all time. Yep. Doesn't know thing one about fucking swords.
Nope.
Goes like, look, this sword isn't going to happen. I would have loved it for him to just cut off his fucking arm. Go like, well, I was wrong. So, ow. But, I was like literally, he's just, he's an edgelord at this point. I love fucking swords.
He put the sword in its place because his willpower was so unfazed by it. It was basically, it's like when a dog is challenging you, and when you show fear, you lose. But if you're just standing your ground and you're like, you fucker will sit down now, oh, you'll have hell to pay. And then the dog sort of like gets your vibe and is like, okay, fine, maybe not this one. I'll leave.
Or he bites your nuts off.
Or that.
And in that case, he's like a bit like, I don't know, like those mall ninjas with their bloody, I studied the blade and what while you were sailing the Grand Line, I was studying the blade, my lady. And the thing...
Yeah, Zoro studied physically the blade. He has not a brain in his head.
No, obviously. For one, evidence...
He throws a sword in the air.
He throws a sword in the air. But even before that, Ground Zero is putting the fucking sword in your mouth. The good thing is, at least he puts it in sideways and not, deep throats the fucker. Well, it's like, I'm going to stab you.
He was pretty in love with Kuina, so who knows what the implications there are. But
don't get me wrong. I'm all in favor of a bit of, side blowjob. That's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong.
But Kuina was a woman. But yeah.
Allegedly. So, she can still be a woman and have a dick. I don't care.
That's very true.
And, it's like, I have the 3-sword technique, mate. Okay.
Anyway, he impresses the shopkeep and he
by
gives
sheer stupidity.
He gifts him the best sword he has in the shop. So Zoro's all equipped again with special swords. Special swords.
Yay! The thing is, like, the shopkeep's like, okay, mate, I'll give you my best sword.
But get
just
dressed,
get the
please.
Fuck out. Seriously, you're an insurance risk. If I tell,
100%.
It's like he threw it up in the air and he cut his own arm off.
So. Now Zoro has the Waruichi Monji he got from Kuina. He has the cursed Kitetsu of the 3rd generation that is now obeying him. And he has the Yubashiri. That's his 3 swords, and he keeps them for a while now. That's the one important thing that happens in Roguetown.
Just a quick question. I mean, like, okay. He has the sword of his girlfriend side-dicking. He's got the whatever cursed sword, right? That almost took off his arm but didn't.
Yeah.
But eventually he'll kill him. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the 3rd one, what does that do? Just randomly explode?
It's just real special.
Oh, okay.
But it has no, it's just, so there's different classes of the swords, and it's a highly ranked sword.
Oh, it's just
really reliable. It's a great sword. Good quality. Like, hey, 5 stars on Amazon.
Yeah, it's like, this is what shows up when you type in sword. It comes as recommended.
Yeah,
wow.
basically that.
Well, good for you, buddy.
It's like the Mercedes of swords. I don't know. I don't know cars, but.
And then you have Hitler's cursed car, and on the other hand, you have
James Dean's little bastard, and there you go.
Something like that.
Exactly.
This is just very reliable. This is the Volvo of swords.
Yeah, it's the all rounder. It's good.
Okay, go on.
The 3 other memorable things that happen in Loketown is Buggy's back. Which obviously he is before in the live action, so it's not as special. But in the manga, Buggy and Alvida as well, which is teased at the end of season 1, join teams because they're both like, fuck the Straw Hat Man. And they meet in Loketown in order to kill him there. And they nearly succeed. And that's the interesting thing. So they set a trap. And Luffy obviously is off sightseeing. Basically, that's his whole thing. He's like, this is the town where the Pirate King died. I need to see...
where he died.
What's the thing called that you decapitate people on? Or...
I know the word in French and in German. Funny
enough. I
was
going to say know the word in German. However, I cannot...
People just shouting at their phones right now.
I cannot remember. So the very, very high podium that they killed the Pirate King on.
The Killy place.
The Killy podest.
Before I forget, sorry, I looked it up. So the just to interject real quick.
Yep.
The budget for the first season, 8 episodes, was 138 million for the entire season.
That's insane, no?
That is insane.
I mean, it's Netflix, right? Netflix has the money, and I'm guessing they really banked on people like me going ham with nostalgia. And it worked. And so they continued. So what's the word, please?
It tells me scaffold.
That's
which makes sense, but it seems so innocuous, inconspicuous in terms of we're going to kill you and also we're going to renovate this wall.
I'm just wondering which usage of the word came first. If people just called an execution place a scaffolding or scaffold, and then they're like, I'm also gonna fix my house.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put a scaffold on.
We realize you just executed the monarchy, but if you
this
don't,
looks sturdy.
Can we just put this over here instead of redo this wall? When you're done with the monarchy,
we can get up on it and we can stand. We can paint way hard. It's way easier this way.
Yeah, come on.
Anyway, so Luffy goes up there to get to the scaffold that Gold Roger was killed on, and that's where Buggy and Alvida sort of trap him, and they lock him in there in like this sort of not handcuffs but like hand and neck cuffs, like same thing where like the people in the Middle Ages were like paraded around, in stocks, and he's kneeling there like completely stuck and can't get out of it, even though I wonder why he didn't just...
Isn't he gummy?
Yeah, rubber his way out. But maybe it's made of sea stone. I'm not sure anymore, because sea stone renders any sort of devil fruit powers
I'm
void.
almost out of beer. And
I am getting there, okay?
No. My point being, this is not like you're taking forever, because you do, but this I knew this going in. But I'm sort of thinking, when I run out of beer, you do realize I have to get the bottle of vodka and just go, like, whenever something stupid happens, I'll have to take a swig. And I'm not going to survive this.
You're going to sleep really well after
I'm
this.
so glad we already got past Zorro, because I'd have bombed that fucking bottle.
Yeah. Let's see what things are to come still.
Oh boy.
They lock him there, and they're like, we're going to execute him now. And Buggy and Alvida, obviously having fought him before, know he is invincible to any sort of bullets or anything. So Buggy has a huge sword and stands behind him and is about to decapitate him. And the Straw Hats have noticed this by now, and like Zoro and Sanji are racing across the square that we've also seen before, that was just full of the crowd watching the execution happening. And now it's a similar situation where people have gathered because somebody's being executed there. What the fuck? Nobody knows about it, and Sanji and Zoro are fighting like two devils to get through there, but they just can't. The distance is too huge. They're both like, fuck, we're not getting, he's dying, shit. And then Buggy swoops down his sword, and we get a still where Luffy just says, sorry guys, guess this is the end. And he just grins super brightly and just accepts it, because it's like, okay, cool, I wasn't meant to get any further than that, that's alright. And the people seeing him do it, especially character that is introduced at second 32, Smoker.
I must say, and I want to say this, because, in terms of, like being too cartoonish, I mean, I'm looking at a guy in a trailer that I do remember from the anime, putting 2 fat cigars in his mouth.
At least it's just 2.
And it shouldn't work, but for some reation the actor makes it work.
Right?
I'm just like, yeah, mate, you just
That's
go
the thing.
right ahead.
I think the live action One Piece so like just what's the word I'm looking for? Just completely envelops itself in the anime style and language, and doesn't try to be too realistic in its real life shot. And it's still very much telling everyone watching, yo, this is still a fantasy world with fantasy people, so don't expect real life shit, okay? And I think that's why it works. I think it's bridging the gap between animated and real life. It's doing the balancing act where it's not tipping too far on one or the other. Smoker is the captain, there, like Morgan used to be, just Smoker is actually capable, and he is a pretty decent guy. He is sort of our anti-hero from our perspective, because obviously since we have assumed the pirate perspective makes the Marines bad by default, because they're antagonists. And Smoker wants to catch the Straw Hat and chases him to the ends of the earth later, and he really stays with our heroes throughout the Alabaster arc. And this is the first time we see him, because after the Arlong situation in the East Blue, Luffy actually has a bounty. The first time that he has, and so far only him has a bounty as well. And he has a bounty of 30 million berries. So they enter Locktown, and Smoker recognizes the ship, sees that the new bounty's dropped, compares, like, okay, cool, gotta get that one. So he goes about and tries to chase him, and he gets to the square and sees Luffy also about to be executed. And he sees him smile. And he's like, what the fuck, he smiles? Because Gold Roger also smiled when he got killed. That's like a whole thing of like parallel, inherited will, symbolism. Wow.
Or just a bunch of dumb motherfuckers.
Just a bunch of dumb motherfuckers. Anyway, lightning strikes Buggy, because this is happening midst the brewing thunderstorm, and Buggy has a fucking metal rod on a scaffolding super high in the air, and he gets hit by lightning and falls off the thing, and Luffy gets away. And then they leave Locktown, but not without being watched by a strange hooded figure that seems to be controlling the winds. Maybe the whole thunderstorm. We don't know.
But is that
it's
in
sort
the
of
trailer?
implied. It's not in the trailer, but we've seen the hooded figure. The hooded figure is in the first shot, in the opening shot of the first episode, standing there watching Gold Roger be executed. That's Luffy's dad. We learned that super late. We learned that in volume 45. We're now in volume 12. But what the hell was that?
I think my cabinet's complaining.
Huh. Interesting.
I'm sorry, there was a bump. Things that go bump in the
It genuinely
semi-dark.
felt like somebody knocked on the door. That was real strange.
I'd be surprised if they did.
I'd be surprised.
You probably, guys, you probably didn't hear this, but it literally
like,
sounded like somebody about to enter the room.
Yeah. Dragon, Monkey D. Dragon, is the leader of the Revolutionary Army and Luffy's dad. Garp, the vice admiral that is teaching Kobe and Helmeppo and like mentoring them, is Luffy's granddad.
Of course he is.
And that's all we know about his family. But we learned later on that his dad guaranteed them safe getaway from Locktown. But that's going to be our last stop before we enter the Grand Line. Which is little sneak peeks that we now get to see. We get a little sneak peek of like a jungle, a forest, which I can only presume is Little Garden, which is the second island that we sail onto on the Grand Line. And then we see, I'm going to talk about Little Garden a bit later. And then we see this huge island with these huge cacti called Whiskey Peak.
Yes.
Whiskey Peak is the first island that the Straw Hats land on. And I'm very curious to see how much in depth they're going to go there, but technically they should. There's a lot of fighting going to happen in that town, basically. I'm not going to say much more other than that. Not yet, anyway. By second 13, Buggy is like we see the square in Locktown again in the trailer, where Buggy has set up this huge circus tent. So I'm just gonna assume that how they do it here is they're gonna make his presence a bit more tangible in the live action than it's in the anime, because he literally just shows up on the square and is like, "Ha, Straw Hat, I got you!" Whoop, and that's sort of it, like as a surprise cameo. Sort of, but since Buggy has been way more pungent, because I can't think of a better word, his presence has been way more pungent than we thought already, and than it used to be in the anime. I'm guessing he's going to play a way bigger role here as well, just because I think Oda is not going to pass up on the opportunity to establish him more, and also he's become eye candy a lot of people, me included, think he's weirdly hot, and that's so weird to say.
I saw the actor.
About Buggy.
I saw the actor.
It's hot.
But the thing is, nothing compares to Smoke right now because, like, I'm not even gay, like, well, I haven't met the right man, I suppose. But the thing, I'm looking at Smoke and just the way he puts two cigars in his mouth, I'm like a smoker.
Smoking, eh?
I'm like...
Yeah, smoker.
Yeah, that works for me, kind of.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Buggy. Maybe I have to rewatch. Maybe I should watch the first season.
He's actually a real fun actor as well. The portrayal of the character is real fun. The next thing is the scaffolding. We have already covered that.
Have we not?
We have already covered
that. Oh, sorry.
That.
We haven't really covered that, is what I understood.
We have already covered that.
Oh, yes, we did.
And then by second 22, something very unexpected happened. There was a giant.
I don't know what's to be expected and what's not.
Fair enough. There's a giant. Did you expect giants in a pirate story?
This is One Piece. I know enough to, like... Not...
Yes, so giants are a thing.
Yeah, okay.
And the two giants that we meet first on Little Garden, which makes the name so ironic, are called in the German translation Boogie and Woogie. I believe in the original it's Oggy and Broggy. And they are two... They live on this island called Little Garden, which to them, I'm sure, is a little garden. However, it is rather...
expansive.
Yeah, the name is misleading.
No.
So the thing about the islands on the Grand Line is not only are they all connected by magnetic currents, but all of them very much have their own climate. And based on that, fauna and flora. Little Garden is a dinosaur island.
Of course it is.
It's a tropical island and there's dinosaurs on it.
Right.
T-Rex and whatnot.
Before we enter, no. Actually, keep going because I can hear you. I'm just going to take down my headphones for a second. I'm going to get that bottle of vodka I was threatening you guys about. Just a sec.
Do. Go on. I'll continue.
I can hear you.
Oggy and Broggy, he stands there. One of them, I can't really tell who's who because I'll need to see which, like, how they went with the designs. But he stares down at the going Mary with Nami on it sort of menacingly, which is real funny because the giants don't pose a threat at all. They're like the giants in One Piece are Viking based. They have like Viking helmets, which just FYI the Vikings actually didn't have, and that was something that Wagner came up with, but doesn't matter. So they have the classic Viking helmets with the horns to the sides,
which is historically inaccurate.
That's exactly what I just said. And they wear like fur and leather. I love this. Fur and leather, like clothing and everything, and they're just very much like your standard cliche Viking, both of them. And they have their own little thing going on there. They're actually best friends, sort of, but they've had a spat for over 100 years now, and they're just constantly like battling, having a fist fight that never ends, basically. And giants live 3 times as long as humans, so they have an average lifespan of 300 years. So they're just like basically in our regards, they would have been fighting for 10 years on an island, which is still a long time. But
if they live about 300 years,
no, they lived there for 100. There were 100 years on that island.
Oh right.
Yeah. It would be 10 years for us. No, that's
no,
wrong math.
That's about 30 years for us.
Yes. But anyway, we see them, and I'm really excited because they look cool.
They do actually. They do.
I was a bit worried, or the thing that I'm always a bit worried about is the implementation of CGI. That it doesn't look shit, because One Piece is, I mean, it's an anime and manga. It's drawn. You can do outlandish, weird things with that, and I think Luffy works well. Sometimes his Gangan powers look a bit weird, but overall I think they did a good job with it.
They use that sparingly in that trailer. I think we only see it once. By the end he's doing...
See the Gatling,
yeah, precisely.
I personally was pretty disappointed with how Arlong looked.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think they understated him.
Yeah, the fish person, because I do remember him from the anime. Yeah,
because in the anime, he towers over everybody. He has the broadest shoulders in the world, and he has this. He is. What do you call them?
Yeah, like
the
from
sharks,
a swordfish.
A swordfish shark.
He's got the nose.
Yeah, and that is super short in the live action. I mean, of course, they had to do because they did. I think they avoided the orc problem from The Hobbit and did the fishmen with practical effects and put the actors in like a lot of makeup.
Prosthetics.
Yeah. And of course, you can only do so much with it. And I think they did a good job with it. But I'm sure they could have in post made him look bigger and broader.
Yeah, even by forced perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure they could have made the nose longer.
Yeah, that should have been
but the other fishmen look great. The other ones were pretty on par for how they should be looking.
But Arlong is the one that really counts, isn't it?
Yeah, and Arlong is the main villain in the East Blue Saga. So, but so that's why I'm a little bit on edge, because we are entering territory now where things get more and more out of hand in that regard. Also, when it comes to the powers of the people. So we have the giants that obviously need to be animated. We're gonna see a couple of dinosaurs in Little Garden that won't be avoided. We're gonna see more diversity from Luffy's fighting style. That needs to happen. We're gonna have another character that's being introduced, which is the next one on my list as well, and ties in perfectly here. By now still known by the name of Miss Bloody Sunday.
Is that Nico Robin?
That is Nico Robin.
And she's got this, many hands.
Yes, she has the power of the flower fruit, basically. And she can let every part of her body grow like a flower, like grow from the ground wherever she wants it to happen.
And so
and
she
there's
just
so
does
many
hands.
kinky. No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. But she mainly does hands. Because, when you fight in fighting style, you fight with your hands. But she also, she uses her eyes and her ears to spy on people, because she can just like on the wall or something, just let an eye like pop up and she can see. Or she can like let an ear grow in the corner of a cupboard and she can hear stuff. She also does legs sometimes, but that's later on. She uses her arms to create wings at one point. That's pretty cool. Like out of her, just like all of the arms like sort of like interlocking like that, and then just she can't fly with that properly, but she can hover a bit. But she mainly does hands, yes. But technically it can be any part of her body.
Okay.
And so Miss Bloody Sunday, she's being introduced to us as an antagonist. That will change later, as you know. But she needs like her power needs to look good, because that's such an outlandish power to begin with, so that needs to look proper. We're gonna, in season 3 probably, we're gonna meet Luffy's brother.
Oh yeah, Ace.
Ace, who ate the fire fruit, so he has fire powers. That needs to look cool. Smoker needs to look cool, because Smoker ate the smoke fruit, so he is smoke. It's very on the nose, that one. Yeah, and he drinks. But the biggest part that the biggest CGI challenge, which they didn't reveal in this trailer, and I'm sure they will in the proper trailer, that we're missing one character revelation. We're missing Chopper.
Oh, right, of course.
Because I'm very, 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 very sure, because we've seen images of Chopper before, don't get me wrong, like we know what he's gonna look like. We've seen little clips and everything, but Chopper wasn't in this trailer.
No, he wasn't.
And I'm guessing the season is gonna end with Chopper joining the crew, because that is happening on Drum Island, and Drum Island is the last island before they get to Alabasta. And it ties in directly with Little Garden, because on Little Garden, Nami contracts a disease, and then they sail to the next island, which is Drum, where they need to fix her and heal her and get her healthy. So yeah, we have Robin, we have Smoker, both being introduced, of course. We're nearly there, we're 4 points more. On second 37, we see Sanji enter a white room. Mm-hmm. He just opens a door and it's like all white. And that is on Little Garden. That is a hut completely made of wax, which tells us that we're gonna spend the normal amount of time on Little Garden, because that is what the antagonist on Little Garden does. He has the power of the wax fruit. It's Mr. 3. And Mr. 3 is an agent of the organization that is our enemy in this and the next season, headed by Crocodile. We have heard of them before in the introduction of Zoro in the live action. In the anime, they don't get mentioned before this, but the live action knew they were going to head for this, so they introduced it. It's called the Baroque Works. Mm-hmm. In German, I prefer that more. It's the Baroque Mafia. It's just way more what it actually is. But the Baroque Company. for a front. And that it's basically it's the mafia run by Crocodile. It's this huge conglomerate of very strong evil people being ranked by number. The lower the number, the tougher and stronger and higher up in the hierarchy you are. So Crocodile himself is Mr. 0, and then it goes up, and again Mr. 1, Mr. 2, Mr. 3, etc. And they all have female partners that don't have numbers but go by holidays.
Okay.
You have Miss Christmas. You have
Wait. So they have a Miss Christmas, which implies Christ in that world.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, precisely.
See, she's called Miss Merry Christmas.
And this is so interesting because, you know, like
thought about that.
This is fairly common, just like how Western media often uses, you know, like Eastern mythology and whatnot. It's fairly common for anime or, you know, like Eastern media to use Christian iconography in order to look more mythical and whatnot. Yeah. And here we have it. The world collapses in on itself. All we have is shared, expanded Christ universe.
Well,
Because, you know, at this point, we're just asking, what did Jesus fucking eat?
It's okay. There's a devil fruit there that brings your soul back once you die. Maybe
of course it does.
That. That's one of our later crew members. Brooke. Brooke is a skeleton.
Woo!
And Brooke is a skeleton. We meet him much later.
Isn't he the one with the afro?
Yeah. And he died. And he died in what is basically the Bermuda Triangle of One Piece. So when he died, his soul just couldn't find his body. So it just wandered around aimlessly when the fruit had activated itself, because the fruit that he ate, the resurrection fruit, did jack shit to him when he was alive. He thought, what a hoax, I can't swim anymore. Nothing else happened. But then when he died, his soul got sent back from the beyond to Earth so that he gets second life.
But he still got his bitchin' afro.
Yeah, he's very good genes.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah. But anyway, so maybe Christ ate that, and then after Christ died for good, anyway. So, yeah, that's how the Baroque works are. We have Miss Bloody Sunday is, of course, a bit of a problematic name, considering that a lot of them are holiday names.
Yes.
But that's Robin's alias. We have, oh my god, I don't remember that much. We have Miss Doublefinger, which is implied New Year's. The 1st of January, like 1 and 1. Yes, she's called Miss Doublefinger. Leave me alone. She is New Year's Day. You couldn't call her.
Who the fuck in the context of New Year's has ever said double finger? I know this from not that many, but I know this from other contexts. But it's like, oh, look, it's the old double fingers. It's what now? You better run. This has nothing to do with a holiday.
It's New Year's Day.
That's not.
But yeah, so that is the foreshadowing that we're gonna follow that in a way, because Sanji enters Mr. Three's hut on Little Garden, who he has there with Miss Golden Week. I don't know what Miss Golden Week refers to, but that's her name. And so we know that we're not skipping that part, so we're probably gonna follow I don't know if we're gonna skip anything right now, honestly, because if there would have been anything skippable, it would have been reducing Little Garden to the shortest amount of time by just having them go on there and get Nami bit by a tick, and sort out the beef between Oggy and Broggy, because that comes back way later as important, but they need to befriend them. But technically we could have just ignored the whole Mr. 3, Miss Golden Week fight on there. But we're not, apparently, because Sanji enters the hut, unless, of course, we just have the hut and he's for some reason not there. But I'm guessing we're going to follow it normally. Then, at second 43, we see Vivi, the Princess of Alabasta. We don't see her yet as herself. We see her as Miss Wednesday. Because not all of the female agents of the Baroque works have holiday names. Some of them just have week names. And once they ran out of week names, they named them differently, basically. But we see Vivi very quickly. And what I love about this, unless my vision was really, really skewed when I saw it, but I rewound a couple times, looks like Vivi is portrayed by an actress that is a person of color.
Oh, wow.
And I love that, because Alabasta is basically Egypt.
Yes.
It's completely influenced by Egyptian architecture. It's sort of like a mix of Egyptian and Babylonian architecture, how everything looks. Like you have pyramids and stuff there. Everything is, I mean, again, it's a desert state. And then the capital of Abana is very much dominated by like towers and like domes that sort of remind a little bit of mosques, design wise, or at least like say, for the lack of a better word, Middle Eastern architecture. So I'm saying also a little bit Babylonian, because it's like a lot, like some Hanging Gardens-esque style and everything. So it's very much Middle Eastern, modern, and mythology, and Egyptian. And I think that's so nice that they stuck there with the very reasonable thought of that the royal family of that place is not portrayed by white people.
And you also said, casting-wise, the creator of the entire series had a very big say in this.
Yeah.
This is why, for example, Luffy is portrayed by a Brazilian person, because this is how he always envisioned him.
Exactly. And
So that's
Zoro,
beautiful.
of course, by a Japanese guy. Nami by an American woman, which fits because Oda said Nami would be Swedish if she was a real-life person, so Caucasian fits perfectly. Same with Sanji. Obviously, he would consider Sanji French because, he's a cook. But Taz Skylar is Spanish-British, I think, mixture-wise. So that also perfectly fits. And he never revealed those casting choices for anyone beyond the main crew.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the choice to cast Vivi as a person of color, I don't want to try to define it further, but not as a white Caucasian woman, I think is great.
But I love this because, like when the creator of the source material is so involved, nobody can go like, oh, they're being overly woke or whatever people are crying wolf about. I don't give a shit. But you've got the creator in there who says, no, this is how I envisioned the character. Come at me. And I love that for them.
It's really interesting because Vivi in the source material very much is white. But that's also because Oda only, like, he explored a little bit with different shading of the characters in terms of skin tone, but it never became a real thing. So sometimes somebody is shaded a bit darker than others, but never so much as that it couldn't also be just a tan. Like, I cannot remember if I've ever seen an entirely black character in One Piece. Not, for example, in Attack on Titan. You have it that later on in the show, there's different ethnicities because it's set in the real world. Technically, the names are a bit different, but you have African Americans there that are just African Americans, or Asian people, or European people, and they're like drawn differently according to their ethnical features. But in One Piece, that's just not so much a thing. And that's why I think it's really, really, really cool that they made that choice for Vivi, because she will be the central person along with the Straw Hats in this and the next season. I'm going to be very, very, very curious to see once we get to Alabasta how they cast the extras. If they're going to have like a colorful array of every kind of ethnicity, or if they're going to preferably want like not white people or mixed race people mainly there as extras, just to have it be concise with the story.
Fair enough.
And not whitewash it. I'm very curious to see what they do. But I'm very excited for Vivi. She looks really, really cool. She looks really badass. She's not really a fighter. She's not strong, but she is super determined.
Yeah.
So that's how she also really won over the hearts of everyone and the Straw Hats, because she needs their help. There's no way she could take on Crocodile herself, but she would. And she would die for her country, because she's not in love with her title. She's not in love with being a princess or anything, but she sees herself as the person responsible for her country, because she very much sees being royalty as being the servant of your country, and
as you should.
And she says, I cannot let my people die. I cannot let them slaughter each other. We need to stop this. What I noticed while watching this is that we then see a couple fight scenes of everyone, just to give us a bit of a teaser. We see Sanji kick really cool, like jump in the air and like double kick people. We see everyone fight. And it felt like Nami, at least. I mean, Usopp did his usual thing with like a slingshot and everything. But Nami had a pretty insane fighting sequence in there as well.
Yeah, with a quarterstaff, didn't she?
Yeah, she does have a quarterstaff that is canon. That gets upgraded by Usopp a little bit later. But so basically, she develops later a fighting style based on her navigational qualities in terms of the weather. Her quarterstaff gets the ability to sort of have hold and cold air come from it, and then because she's so good with like navigating and reading the weather and understanding meteorological phenomenon, sure, she then develops a fighting style around it. She can at some point summon thunderstorms and like send lightning strikes around, cause Fata Morganas, like mirages, right, and anything like that. And that's in Alabasta that's gonna start. But she looked engaged in the fights, and I find that a really interesting choice, and I think that is probably something that they're going to deviate a little bit from in the live action, because in the anime and the manga, Nami and Usopp are really not fighters.
No, precisely.
And Chopper
he's an
later
inventor and what would you call it? A coward, really.
Yeah, he's a coward. He is the sniper. An inventor, mainly the sniper, because he can snipe anything. That's like his thing, and that's probably gonna be built up on more and more and more. It's already pretty insane what he can do. She's the navigator and the cartographer, and the Chopper later is the doctor. And they all can fight if they have to, especially Chopper, of course, but they prefer not to. Mm-hmm. And they're easily scared, and they don't want to engage in. And Nami was pretty into it, considering that. So I'm guessing they're gonna twist her character a little bit more femme fatale than she is.
The choreography looked great. So
insane. So I'm very curious to see that. And then the trailer ends with a final shot where we actually see Laboom. We hear him in the beginning. Whale. Yeah, we hear him in the beginning, and then it ends with what I described earlier, where the Straw Hats come down Reverse Mountain, and there's this huge whale, and Luffy grins or laughs, and then we're done. So it's sort of, it tells us the story, what we're going to cover and what we're not going to cover. Because the only thing that I'm not sure about is if we're gonna stick to just Laboom, Whiskey, also Loketown, Laboom, Whiskey Peak, and Little Garden, because that is the locations that we have clearly seen here. Even though I would be surprised if we didn't cover Drum in this as well, because for one, we've seen Chopper already. He is animated. He's done. He's there. And he gets introduced on his home island. He doesn't get introduced sooner. It makes zero sense. And it's just in terms of storytelling, I think it would make way more sense to have a clean Soul Alabasta season instead of having one island, one episode before we get to the main location of the rest of the story.
And in terms of how it is teased, to say, okay, we're going to drop season 2 and season 3 is already ready to set sails, as they put it. I think it makes sense. I know very little comparatively about One Piece, but in terms of structuring it and in terms of the size of the Alabasta saga, because I remember sporadically tuning into One Piece and going like, they're still in the desert area?
It lasts a while. It's really cool. It's really great, but
it'd be weird to put it in, like season 2. From everything you've been telling us. So.
Exactly. So I'm guessing they just saved Drum and Chopper from the teaser so that we have a reason to be excited for the trailer still. Because I'm guessing in the actual trailer, as we have learned last week, teaser, trailer, and trailer, different things, they're probably gonna show us Chopper properly. That's what I'm guessing. And I'm also very curious as to why we saw Robin already, Miss Bloody Sunday, because she appears the first time on the Straw Hats ship, that for sure. But I can't remember right now where they are when she does. Maybe they are just coming off Little Garden. Then it would make sense. Because she drops in and she's like, I wanted to see who you guys are. Okay, bye.
But, like in terms of just like what you've told us about Nami, Nami's introduced at a different point in time with the live action remake, as opposed to, like the anime or the manga.
Yeah.
But in terms of what I want to know conclusively, basically is, would you recommend the show, season 1, as a good, sort of starting point for someone who's entering into One Piece as a whole?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I would never, ever, 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 ever recommend the anime to anyone. simply because it's of its length. It's so dauntingly long, and it's still going. And the discrepancy. I mean, it started airing in the late 90s.
Yes.
And it shows. Of course, it shows. Like, it's dated. It's in animation style, in pacing.
No, but fair enough. I mean, with all shows, be them animated or like real life, you notice the development, the evolution of it. So I think if you start watching even the anime, because it happens gradually.
I think the live action is a great appetizer.
That's what I was thinking.
In a sense that I'm very curious to see how long the live action will go on for, because I think it's absolutely ludicrous to consider or to think that it will cover all of One Piece. That is insane. Like, how? So I'm very curious to see how long they will keep this going for. And I think if somebody watches the live action and is loving it, that is a good motivation to then get into the original story. Even then, I would always recommend reading the manga. Mm-hmm. Always. Because I personally prefer the less censored version of the story, simply because it is quite brutal, and the point of it is being quite brutal here and there, because the depth and the impact of the events and the gravitas of the situation is so much more, like, the point is driven home way more if you just stick with sort of, in quotation marks, more accurate violence, mm-hmm. Even though that's of course also pointed way over the top. But interestingly, Netflix has started another project, or is going to start another project, One Piece related, piggybacking off the success of the live action, which is they are going to re-release One Piece as an anime.
Precisely, they're basically remaking it, making it more akin to the style of what later.
Yes, because
One Piece really is.
Honestly, One Piece has, unfortunately, now it's great. Now I would even say one can watch it again, but the vast portion of the anime was done by a studio whose name I don't know, but it looks horrendous. And they were lazy with it, because they're like, this is the biggest global success we have anyway in the industry. We don't need to make it look good for people to watch it. They will watch it either way. And it's called the Dark Age of Animation amongst the fans. And it stretches for a while.
So I've heard, I think you even talked about it before, but this is something that even,
like, when recommend it.
This is something that even went beyond the fandom.
Yeah.
Because even I've heard of it where people are like, sort of, it slumps really in the middle, so to speak.
You can Google like bad animation One Piece and horrible stilts from background, and it's just loveless, and like the in-between transition shots, they look horrible. They're not even shaded sometimes. Like, it's really, really bad. That's the one thing why I wouldn't necessarily recommend anyone getting into the anime now if they haven't been with it for a while. The second one is the anime is riddled with filler episodes. Because with a show that's ongoing, the pacing of the anime is fucked at times, because they got too close to the manga release.
Same happened with Dragon Ball Z,
exactly,
for example.
And because this is a show that doesn't run in seasons, where you can take half a year off or a few months even to basically shoot the next season, like real life shows work. You air, in the golden age of television, you used to get one season per year. And then and then that season would run for about half a year-ish on a weekly basis. And then you would have to wait for the next one. And sometimes the show would go on hiatus during the summer months or whatever, and then only pick up around Thanksgiving again in America, the TV rhythm.
Yeah.
And animes in Japan, at least the huge ones like Dragon Ball, or I know for sure One Piece, never ran that way, and they are running year-round.
And especially at some point, you're going to catch up to the actual source material. And this is why, for example, fights drag on forever in DBZ.
Yeah. And in One Piece as well, or they just have filler arcs, whole arcs that don't exist and that are not necessarily canon, can't be canon, because whoever came up with the stories for those didn't necessarily check in enough with the author, with the team, and just did their own thing. And so they have ideas that contradict what is actually happening. And if you are really into the material, you'll notice. Or the pacing in one arc in One Piece in Dressrosa. Oh, I'm so sorry, I hit the microphone. Is completely fucked, because every episode is a 15 or 10-minute flashback, more or less, of what happened before, or the same flashback again and again and again and again and again. Stills of characters not moving, just staring at each other for alleged dramatic effect, but really just to you have an episode where nothing happens because
the runtime.
Yeah. And that sucks. And that's what I really don't like about the anime. I say if you have a friend like me who's really into it and you want to watch it, then ask that friend for whichever arc you're in right now to tell you which episodes to skip, or to tell you which arc to skip. If you want if you want to watch all of it, by all means. I have also seen all of it up to a certain point, because I just enjoyed the material so much, and I was like, I don't care, give me everything. But if you want the actual story, the properly told story that properly like feeds into each other story-wise and pacing-wise, then ask that friend what to skip. Or, see how the Netflix anime is gonna come along. It didn't drop yet, but I'm very curious, because they are starting from the beginning now. So they have all the time in the world to follow the actual flow of the story the manga suggests, because they're not going to catch up.
No, obviously not.
That's not happening.
But in terms of, I'm intrigued by what I've seen from the trailer, and I think I might actually stick with your recommendation and check out the manga.
Mm-hmm.
This I might actually like, because I remember I read the entirety of Full Metal Alchemist. It's the only manga I ever read, but I enjoyed it greatly. And I think, and I was so surprised over the course of 1 minute and 40 seconds, I believe, how my opinion changed on what I saw, because I immediately was like, in the beginning, I was like, I don't like the visual style. But in terms of the way it was shot, the way it was, dramatized, the way people were acting, I more and more, it all started to fit together for me, the visual style with the overall style. I'm like, yeah, I think I could get into that.
The great thing about this project that happened on Netflix is that it is like all the people that are in major positions of the project, the directors, the writers, the producers, all the important people from the studio are huge One Piece fans. And you can tell. I mean, again, of course, they deviate from the story.
You have to at a certain point.
And honestly, I don't even mind the decisions that they made, because you can tell that they were thought through and definitely checked back with Oda himself, and he signed off on them because it still works. It doesn't hinder the flow. Of course, if there's people who are like, no, the fight with Don Krieg is my favorite part of the East Blue Saga, how could they cut it? Of course, then that's bad luck. And I also was a bit mad because I quite enjoy it and I was very curious, but it's not feasible in real life. You couldn't, that brutality would set it up to FS, like 18 plus immediately. Like you couldn't put, or you would have to dial it way down, and then it would kind of lose its point. So with people that are so in love with the source material, I think you can tell. You can tell that this is shot with a lot of love. Believe me, if we watched the first episode together and I would point out all the Easter eggs to you that are there, we would take 3 hours to watch the 1 hour episode, because in the background there's bounty posters for other pirates that we don't meet for like years later. There's little hints and nods. There's people hidden in crowds. There is writing of all kind, like posters and writing on the wall, literally writing on the wall, graffiti and stuff telling you things, and just little nods here and there, and that makes, and I feel like people notice that even if you don't know the source material, you kind of watch it and you're like, this is a passion project for the people who made it, and that makes you sympathetic with it immediately.
Even as an outsider, I can sort of feel it. And this is sort of what intrigues me. I might, at some point, check out the first season. I mean, it's a clear recommendation, I feel.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure at some point we're going to check back after the second season drops, or maybe after they finish the third season or whatever, to see if your predictions came true.
Yeah.
But overall speaking, it's this whole episode's been a great overview, basically, of what's been happening in the beginning sagas
Yes.
of One Piece, and sort of a faithful to a point adaptation with necessary, I suppose, deviations, obviously.
Yeah. Adaptations. It's called adaptation to the new genre. You have to.
But generally speaking, from what I know from the anime, from what I've seen with just the teaser trailer, from what you've told me, I'm intrigued. And I didn't expect that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I love that that's the outcome. That always makes me happy.
And with basically a deep dive of the very beginning of One Piece.
Yeah.
This was a very engaging episode, I feel. So, like this might probably turn on a lot of people to actually try out in whatever form One Piece.
High recommendation from my side.
I think.
I've been involved with it since I was 5.
So basically, I think I'm going to check out the manga. Yeah. But I guess for now, that's going to do it for all of us here at Channel 5.
Set sail, me mateys.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to do an Anchorman reference. I'm not drunk, but I'm fairly under the influence.
He needs to sleep.
So thank you guys so much for listening to us. We're going to be back with another episode next week. And for now, we're saying bye-bye.
Bye-bye.